All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, YouTubers. This is Jerry Diamond with How to Get Out of Babylon, Flat Earth, Homeland, etc. Ozark Plateau Remnant Relocation Association Headquarters, Oprah. So, um, the next part of this, and this is all preliminary to talking about the tests that I came up with. And maybe the test will get bigger because right now it's only 11 questions. There's 10 basic questions and then a catch-all question that includes all phases of prepping, just like, and it's a self-assessed test, it's be honest with yourself, um, honestly evaluate where you're at, how you're doing in this area, in that area, because, if you're not honest with yourself, you're just kidding yourself, you know. I've said before, you're not kidding anybody else. Nobody's, you shit hits a fan, it's all going to get real suddenly. Whether you've been real with yourself or not, whether you've been real with your friends and acquaintances and everybody else, it's all going to, how does the old farm saying go, the chickens are going to come home to roost. The chickens are coming home to roost. So, kind of a weird light there. Right there. Oh, well. So, the last video I talked about special forces, and if you did, I made the point at least 3 times. I'm going to say it again, in case you're either just first video of mine you've ever seen, or whatever the situation is. I want to repeat the fact that across this country there are a virtually unlimited number of special forces. I'm talking Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Air Force, Marine, Army Rangers, kind of special forces, Delta Force, Marine Force Recon, as well as Air Force Commandos. And I knew a guy who was in that, and he said they're trained to do everything all the other ones are do and more. They are trained to go into anywhere in the world, take over an air base, and use it. Communications, everything. Foreign language, don't make any difference. They're trained to go in and do it. So, I'm going to make the point that with that unlimited number, let's just deal with active duty, because that's what the resistor was about that I talked about. Active duty special forces, they would like to just go AWOL and start fighting. This was 10 years ago. 14 years ago. They would have, any time from now, 1994, when they first published, to today, they could just go rogue, go AWOL, and start a revolution, start an underground, basically start a guerrilla warfare. They are not capable of doing that because they will not survive. They know they won't. So, here's my point. If there is an unlimited number of special forces people across this country ready and willing to start a war, guerrilla warfare, but they know that they cannot do it because they do not have the support that they need among the civilian populace, what makes you think Mr. Gray Man, Mr. Gray Woman, I'm going to bug out in place, I'm going to bug out, whatever, in the city. What makes you think that you have any hope of doing anything at all by yourself? Mr. Lone Wolf, Mrs. Lone Wolf, whatever. Not going to happen. Okay? I hope you get that point. I lived for 4 years with a Green Beret, not a modern Green Beret. Green Beret that did 3 tours in Vietnam as a Green Beret. Okay. When he had opportunity to do a war game in Colorado, he used civilians, only civilians. He won. Okay. Because that's what he was trained to do. His commanding officer called him in screaming at the top of his lungs at him, said, "Don't you ever use civilians in warfare again." And he went out, ripped out the page of the Special Forces Green Beret manual, slammed it down on the guy's desk, and said, what it said on the page, and I'll quote it to you verbatim because I still remember it verbatim as he described it to me. Your mission is to recruit, equip, train, and use indigenous personnel, that means civilians, for the purposes of guerrilla warfare. And he said, that is what I do. You know, that was what he was trained to do. That's what he did. He won the war game. And as they say, all is fair in love and war. I mean, he didn't do it fairly. You know, it involved a wrecked car that had already been run into a light post or a tree, and they ran it up close to the objective, and a couple of the guys' wives with really short tops and really short skirts and little booze, whipped whiskey over them and staggering up to the place. The guys got distracted. Imagine that. They won. So anyway, so my next point here is, and this is preparatory to giving a, trying to have you get firmly in your mind a realistic appraisal of where you're at, if it's a group, where your group is at, and where we're at as a people. Okay, so where I'm going in this part of this preliminary study series, and I don't know how much longer I've got here, but I'll, if I cut it off, I cut it off. And that is the County Restoration Handbook, and I'm going to read this. This is my next book I'm going to read. Building the Future One County at a Time. As an offshoot of the Transition Town movement worldwide, started in blah, 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 England, I don't remember the town. Galen Chadwick started the Well-Fed Neighbor Alliance, which has spread over the entirety of the Ozark Plateau, and our motto is, as a region, I'm stating this, the best defense in hard times is a well-fed neighbor. Okay. This manual was edited by Eric Vaught and Kathy Vaught, and this is, that was a screenshot. I'm going to go to Chrome just for a minute, and I may go to the document itself. I have it on my tablet, so I could attach it and email it if anyone is interested. dmnds2001@yahoo.com. That's Delta Mike November Delta Sierra 2001@yahoo.com. So this is Kathleen Vaught about me. Her and Eric wrote the manual. Things I'm finding out about these. Kathleen is the most multi-talented, brilliant person I know. Jerry Diamond, Sustainable Cedar County. Okay, if I said, I don't think she probably changed Kathleen, because I know her as Kathy, Cathi. Are you looking for a brilliant and dynamic writer with a large range of expertise and experiences? Do you want the absolute best in web content and copywriting? I do. How about a hardworking, creative individual who has an obsession with getting work done on time and flawless? Congratulations, you just found me. Okay. She's in the top 1% of content writers out of over 22,000 on Elance, the top 10% of blog, article, and business writers on Odesk or whatever desk, and have exceptional feedback on all sites I work with. Okay, anyway. Every time on Sustainable Cedar County, which was a Google group I had, anything that anybody wrote about, either Kathy or Eric would write a dissertation. So they were, and I tried to help them. I wanted to help them, but I just didn't have I couldn't handle, okay, I'm a technotard. I couldn't handle working on Wikipedia, and they didn't have time to train me, so it got written without me. So I went on scribed.com. Maybe you can download it there. My historical experience with Scribed is they started out cheap, they started out simple, they started out getting free copy, and then my book is on there. You can download my book, but they want you to upload something, so I'm not going to mess with it right now. I did click on download, but you can kind of scan through it here, but it's, it leaves out chapters or almost entire chapters. So, but that's one place to get it. I can email it to you, like I said, attached, and I would imagine it is online somehow, some other way, but I can't off the top of my head right now tell you about it. So, because that's the only thing it had up there was Kathleen Vaught, freelance writer. Although I said manual, it's handbook. So, kind of 6 one, half dozen the other. With well-fed neighbor, it really should have picked it up, but let's see. F for a chance. So, I don't see that it did anything. All right, so forget that. We're going to go to the book itself. I've got screenshots of it, but I might as well just do it right from the document I have. County Restoration Handbook. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and start reading this. It's 113 pages, chock full of really good information. And they quoted a really not famous person. Me. I didn't know that. So I feel terrible about that. Or I forgot. I don't feel so terrible about that, seeing as I've been through a lot of heart attack and different homelessness and all that crap. So, but you can see here, table of contents, handbook organization, start here, where are we now, levels of detail overview, levels of need overview, from family and farm to county, how to expand, castle defense system. This is critical. Another thing I should get into if I can ever find it is the Castle Defense Handbook, and that is written by Greg Evenson, S-E-N, not S-O-N. He was the highest decorated state patrolman in the state of Kansas, and he is in the Midwest, America, Heartland America, I think is the name of his ministry. But he has a castle defense system, very similar to this entire country is set up as a castle. So, if you were not aware of that, townships are little where you have marches. Counties are ridings. That's in here. Well, I'll explain that in a minute if I can find that, because that's one of the coolest things that I've always enjoyed about this book. Section 4 on food overview, 12. Meat on the hoof and crops in the ground. I'm like, cool. That's a section from my book. The garden was worth more than the gold. Super cool. That's out of my book. So that was pretty cool. And salt. Oh my gosh, the importance of salt. And I got to get back to that. If you know who Joe Rogan is, J-R-E, Joe Rogan Experience, he has interviewed multiple times Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay. And recently he did an interview, and the subject was he mentioned salt and the importance of salt and the need to have a lot of salt so you can preserve your food. One of the very most, which I've been saying for years. I mean, in fact, part of the video had a thing about salt was once the most valuable thing on earth. Okay? Take a clue. You've heard it from me, if you've been listening to me, for about, ever since I went on YouTube. 18 years or better. For people that know me, they know, because I've got salt. So, deal with that, get some. You can go to any farm and home store, and salt is like $3 for 50 pounds. Any salt is better than no salt. Salt will preserve. Preferably get sea salt, preferably get mineral salt, preferably get brown salt, preferably don't get plain white salt, get sulfur salt. I don't care, but get salt. You can preserve food with it. All right, Three Sisters, etc., etc., etc. Rural Watch, radios. They just deal with about everything that you can deal with, that you would need to deal with. So my point in this video, because I'm probably going to have to roll this one up here real quick. There's more of my stuff. First Sheltered Earthworm Underground Homes. That's probably from my book. Huh. Any rocket stove stuff here? I believe there is some. So, 113 pages. Okay, the castle defense system, if I don't see it, I'm not going to deal with it, so we'll come back to that later, because there are some picks in here. But the point I want to make with this video is that we need to be thinking on a large area, a large region, spectrum, strategic thinking, large area as possible. I'm thinking, 30 to 50,000 square miles, the Ozark Plateau. In here, okay, if you can see there, page 20, starting in there, from economic restoration to simple survival, levels of need, township self-reliance, transition towns, well-fed Dallas County. Guess where I've been hanging out the last few months? Dallas County. So there's some vestiges of that. Lawrence County. It's where Eric Vaught, Kathy Vaught lived back then. So there's quite a few counties in Missouri that are pushing for sustainability, survivability. The state of Missouri, at the state level, if you know what CERT is, Citizen Emergency Response Teams, I'm not going to go into too much more other than the fact that there is an idea of having a seed bank for the state. And I'll not say any more than that. But there is planning and thinking apparently at the state level, or was at one point in time in the past, of being able to, if it's a worst case scenario and the entire rest of the world is wiped out, to have enough seed to replant at least the state of Missouri and then build from there. So not a bad place to be when your state's thinking like that. And protecting the seed bank. So defense and protection at the state level. So absolutely enough said on that. So that's it. We need to think bigger. If you're not, I said before, I'll say it again, if you're not planning on, if you're not organizing, if you're not living in such a way that you can hang out and help other people, hang out with other, in other words, peaceably live with other people and help those other people, not hurt them, and organize so that you have all of these things needed. I suggest reading this manual. There's a lot here. This is not, I'm going to repeat this, this is not a situation where you can have a bucket of grain and a little camp stove and survive. That's not what we're facing. We're facing absolute and utter total extinction. We're facing extinction level events, plural. Any number of things that can happen from now till the time the fat lady sings, or Jesus returns, or whatever happens. Yeshua. For all of you sacred namers, and for all of you Sunday, keepers, whatever. I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm just trying to speak so that everybody understands what I'm saying. Until something happens to bring us back to some kind of equilibrium, we are facing the extinction of the human species, if you want to say it, the human race. So, the Adamic race, the Israelite race, the house of Israel. So, we're facing extinction. If we don't get help, if we don't get supernatural help, if we don't get help from outside, there's help from unexpected sources, little bits of help. There's a lot of men right now that are extremely depressed. I think that one of the best people I've ever met in my life, sweetest, humblest, most helpful, may not be with us anymore. And if you are out there, please get in touch with me, because we're really worried about you. There's a lot of men who are in really dire straits. Okay. I found out that one of the best men I ever knew is living in his van. And this was weeks ago when it was 130 degrees in his van. Thanks to, it was related to my situation, I'll put it that way. I'm not going to say any more than that. Very sad. Visionary, brilliant, organized, hardworking guy. I mean, productive. Thrown out in the street. And the woman wanted the van back too. Just die. Put a bullet to your head, So pretty sad, pretty frightening, but that's the situation in a lot of cases. So people are being hunted down basically and eliminated one by one, and that's got to stop. We need to have a place for people to go where they can be safe, feel safe, and be productive. I mean, we get any 2 or 3 guys together, we're going to be productive. Men of God, men of Yahweh. We're going to be productive. So that's where we need to be. So I'm going to roll this one up. Like I said, I'm going to read this book, but before I do, if you should download it right away. Find it. If you can find it, post a link on here. I'll post a link if I can find one where it's downloadable. Otherwise, send me an email and I will email it to you, dmnds2001@yahoo.com. Got to happen, people. We've got to pull enough people together, and it is happening on a large scale. There's people flooding in here, have been for years. Like I said, about 5, 6, 7 years ago, a woman from Southern California said every single week somebody I know personally from Southern California is moving to the Ozarks. So it's happening, has been for decades. But there's still plenty of, a few 100,000 farms for sale. So join the party. There's still plenty of room for people. Join the party. There's still plenty of food. Come on out. The water's fine. So, all right. Final thoughts, I don't know. Supporting documents, I didn't list of figures. There it is. Need matrix community. Marches and writings. There you go. 15. What was that? Gallery? No. DE recorder? No. Oh, that's frustrating. Where'd it go? Gallery. Well, such is life. All right, I was going to pull it up, but I don't know. I guess it slid off to the side and closed. This is the screenshots I did. So page 16 it was. And was it 16 or was it section 16? I didn't notice that because I'm not seeing it on page 16. So anyway, scan it over. It's excellent, really good work. Quotes me a few times. That's pretty cool. Is it 16? Is it 16? I'm not seeing it. Nope. Okay. I'll find it and do another video on it just as an overview. So, alrighty. This is Jerry Diamond with How to Get Out of Babylon. If you're listening to this, you are the remnant. And we've got some work to do, folks. Let's get with it.